Welcome in, you guys. I am so excited to talk about my first 6 months of cold calling. And I want to talk about this because I've been in the real estate business for 18 years. I have been selling on my own for 15 of those years. And I think I just absorbed what everyone else thought about real estate as my own thoughts. And I say that because now that I've done it for 6 months and I have seen success from it, I want to share with you why you should do cold calling and why you should even consider it. And it's because you are in charge of your own business, of your own income, of your average house price sales, of your average location that you go. You have full reins on your business if you are doing the outbound. My business was in Arizona for over a decade, and that was my one and only primary business. And I like loved the fact that I could say, oh, my business is a referral business. And so this year in 2025, when I sat down and looked at all of my numbers, I was actually super disappointed, and mostly disappointed in myself for not doing this sooner and taking more control. Like, there's just so much satisfaction in knowing that you are in the driver's seat about how much money you make, about where you work, about who you work with. And then you have the luxury, because you have enough business, to say no to the people that you don't want to work with. So, I'm going to go over, I came up with 6 stages of cold calling, kind of like the roller coaster ride that you go on. But before I get into it, I want to talk about the benefits of cold calling. So, my favorite thing so far that I have found is that when I have a buyer who is looking for something very specific, I now have this tool to go and say, hey, let me cold call this neighborhood for you to see if I can find what it is that you're looking for, since we're not finding it on the market. I don't know how many agents are out there that would never do anything to help their client. They they set them up on an MLS search, and they just let it run, and they just wait for something to show up. And this way, I'm in charge. If I have 1 hour a week, I'm going to take that extra hour and I'm going to call the neighborhood. Not only does it give me a reason to talk to my client, hey, I made some calls today for you, nothing came up, or hey, I found something, but it's over your the price you want to spend. You can double book this. If you don't have the buyer for this house, you are still trying to get the listing. Either way, we have 2 opportunities here to turn that person on the other end of the phone into business. You want to get them into your CRM, whether it's an email or a phone number, you want to follow up with them. It is just so powerful, and I'm really kicking myself for not doing this sooner. So let's start with number 1. The first thing about cold calling is fear. Why? When I was able to ask myself what I was so scared about, and then I returned to my scariest moment in real estate, which was sitting at 2 separate open houses in the same summer. One, I feared for my life. The other one, I had gotten a gun the day I feared for my life and pulled it out and told the gentleman, I need you to leave. And I showed him the unholstered gun sitting on the table. I wasn't touching it, but I let my eyes settle on the gun. And then I looked directly into his eyeballs and said, you need to leave. And he was like, oh, okay. So when I think about fearing for my life over getting hung up on, big deal. So I think the first question you need to ask yourself is like, whoops, what is it that is so scary to you about cold calling? Because at the end of the day, you're getting hung up on. Maybe you're getting chewed out, but even if you don't like what somebody's saying to you, you can still hang up on them. Now, this is a very rare case. And in my cold calling, like, coaching class that I signed up for, I've only heard of one person who actually got fined. And it was a hefty fine. I will say it was $4,000. So that is for getting turned in because you called someone on the do not call list. So that's totally up to you. If you don't want to call somebody on the do not call list because you don't want to risk that fine, then don't do it. You're in control. So I think number 1 is asking yourself, what is it that I'm so fearful of cold calling? Number 2 is clinging to the script. So once I got over the fear of, okay, I'm just going to do this. I don't like where I'm at. I want more control. I want more money in my bank account. And I want to be able to turn the business I have from cold calls into referral business down the road. What do I do next? Well, you got to study the scripts. If you are a new agent, the scripts are going to be your life. If you are a seasoned agent, my advice is that you want to draw from all of the different ways that you speak to your clients that you've learned over the years. So it can be on the phone, it can be in person, it can be through open houses, door knocking, whatever other avenues of lead generation that you have implemented into your business over the years. You're going to want to use that, because the truth about the scripts is that any coach, like any cold calling coach, they have to give you something in return for the money you give them. They can coach you all you want, but you want the script because you feel lost and you're scared and you don't know what to say. So I think it's a really big mistake to cling to the script. However, if you are a brand new agent and you don't have all of those years of experience to draw from, you kind of have to stick to the script because you don't really know or understand how to pivot or how to talk to somebody yet. So this is what leads to step number 3, which is, I guess I should say phase number 3, which is procrastination. You're studying your scripts. You are in your little groups. What are they called? Not networking groups. Role play. You're in your role play group. You do it daily. You practice. I used to talk to my cats. You feel like you're good at what it is you have to say. Well, then you get on the phone and maybe the call doesn't really quite go as the script said it was going to go. And then you kind of panic because you're like, oh shit, I actually don't know the script that well. So what do? You hang up, you feel like, I don't want to do this today. I'm going to try again tomorrow. I'll try again in a few hours. And then you don't do it. So then you start procrastinating. And let me tell you, if you skip it one day, it makes it harder to do it the next day. I finally got through that phase. And I think somebody told me that in the beginning of cold calling. And I think I let that be a part of who I was. The difference is I have a business going already. This is something that I'm trying to implement as a seasoned agent so that I can have more control of my business, but it's not my entire business yet. Like it's a non-negotiable 3 days a week. It's not a non-negotiable 7 days a week for me because I need time to work on social media, to work on the existing business that I have. So I think the procrastination comes in when you're not seeing the results that you want and you feel like you're putting in the work. But if you actually have a logbook of how many hours you are making calls, of how many contacts you are making, how many resumes have you sent out, how many emails have you sent, how many actual appointments have you gone on, you're going to realize that you probably aren't doing the numbers that you think you're doing. But because maybe you're calling and not having great results, it's like easy to trick yourself and say, okay, well, I sat on the phone for 2 hours today. Well, how many bathroom breaks did you take? How many times were you texting or did you get on social media? If you're not giving it your full attention, sorry, but like you need to be there. So that leads me to number 4. Phase 4 is reflection. I felt like there were a lot of times when I just made the call and I let them hang up because the call kind of ended. Like I wasn't as aggressive as I could have been, should have been, or wanted to be. And so I would hang up from the call and I'm like, God, I should have said this. I should have asked that. So I have a whole separate notebook for my cold calling and I write down little notes or ask questions or kind of like almost journal, I guess, about the little areas where I got stuck so that I can go back and read it. And I also internalize it. So the next time I get stuck in that position, I now know what question I want to ask, if I want to ask the question. I mean, if the person's not hanging up on you and they're talking to you, try to use it to your advantage. But that's the thing. The script doesn't tell you what to do. So that's why the reflection piece is super important because it gives you confidence to move forward. Now that you have enough calls under your belt and you realize what snags you get stuck on, if you think about where the conversation could have gone and how you could have taken control because the person who's asking questions is the person in control, then that starts to give you a little bit more of buying the next 30 seconds, as they say in cold calling. So now phase 5, we have our big break. We actually set an appointment for a listing appointment. And it is extremely exciting. It feels like all of your hard work is paid off. And this is going to be a slight tangent here. While you're working on your script for cold calling, if you are not solid at 100% in your listing presentation, you need to be working on that as well. Because one day that person on the other line is going to say, yeah, can you come over tomorrow at 9 a.m.? And you're thinking, oh my gosh, I have a full day. I have never practiced my listing appointment. I still have to prep for like 3 hours for this thing. You need to make sure that you know what to say, the order, how you're going to go about the house. Do you give a full listing presentation? Do you have a mini listing presentation? There's a lot that goes into the second piece of this. Like the cold calling is the stepping stone to get you in front of the seller. And I know that I can sell myself and close the deal as long as I'm in front of them. So being on the phone was hard for me at first because I'm used to being in person. I'm old school like that. I like to do everything in person. And this is a different type of skill. You don't have facial expressions. You don't have your face or smiles or mannerisms or energy to feed off of. You're interrupting someone's day. And so when you think of the cold call as really two pieces, the call itself and then the result, which is the in-person appointment, you have to be sharp with your listing appointment. And little things can make it easier. You can have a listing presentation. You can have it pre-printed out. So all you have to do is go fill in the blanks for all the comps. You can have a listing presentation outfit ready to go. I know that sounds silly, but it's one less thing you have to think about. And then once you get to this appointment and you've had your in-person appointment, now you are confident and you want to be consistent because you are seeing success. Now you don't want to miss a day. This is phase 6. You are feeling high, you are feeling happy, and then you get it under contract. And then possibly like I have right now, I got the buyer and the seller all from one call, which is not that it didn't take me hours to get to this call. I took many hours to get to this call. But I was diligent. I followed up. I went in there. I know my listing presentation. I sold them. People who are expireds are in pain. They want to sell, most of them at least. People who are circle prospecting have no pain. They have no desire to sell, and that's a long game. So you're filling your pipeline up for the future versus an expired listing who wants to sell now. So keeping those things in mind, like your toolbox is now just a little bit fuller when you're able to cold call. And it just makes me feel powerful. As weird as that sounds, I really, really enjoy it. And I actually have fun on the calls that I get chewed out because everybody chews you out differently. And it's so funny. And I think my last thing I want to say is that it's nice because it's just a straight business relationship. These people aren't expecting you to be their friend because they don't know you in any other capacity than in business. Whereas when you go to an open house or you get a referral, it sometimes becomes friendlier, not that you want it to be, but it just becomes a different type of friendship integrated into the business relationship. And when you have a cold call, it's strictly business. There's really no other personal conversation that goes on. Of course, you're going to get to know them a little bit, but I just wanted to give you my insights on that because it's been 6 months and I am seeing success. I'm starting to get a very full pipeline. I live in between Scottsdale and Miami, and those are both high seasons, starting in January. And if I'm lucky, I can get those people to list in October, which is still like the pre-season of the high season. And so it's just really important to take what I'm saying, which is be in control of your business and not let your ego get in the way of, I am so great because I have a referral business, and instead be in control of your business. So I hope this helps. I hope this gives you a platform to A, start farther ahead than I did, and B, get excited about being in control of your business. Where do you want to work? Take that and run with cold calls. Cheers.